Dr. Corey Ostru and Jessica Walla. Did I say that right? I'm so sorry. I already forgot. Okay. Our master breathwork facilitators. They are known as the Healing Couple. Dr. Corey's training is as a naturopathic physician. Jessica has a background as a yoga instructor. Both of them have traveled the world looking for health answers. They've tried plant medicine, talk therapy, personal development, shamanic journeys, all kinds of stuff. They stopped searching when they discovered that nothing worked as well as breath work. And so together they have created tens of thousands of transformative experiences for people through breath work. Now scientific research is catching up to what they have known for years about the many health benefits of breath work. They're also the founders of Reset Breathwork, where they train people who want to become breathwork facilitators through their certification program. Thank you guys for coming. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, we're super stoked.
Thanks
This will
for
be
having
fun.
us.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start off. I met you, Jess, on the elevator at a conference a few months ago. I didn't know who you were or anything, and you just started chatting with me about your experience of having some crippling anxiety and learning about breath work. And then a few minutes later, you were on stage accepting an award for the work that you're doing. I was blown away. And so I'd love if you could kind of share your story of like what happened to you with this journey of learning about breath work and how it's helped you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so grateful that we met at Disrupt. Like I really believe that everything happens for a reason. Like there's no like coincidences or just like accidents. So it's just great to reconnect with you in this way. And as far as my journey with anxiety and then where breathwork came in, I say that I didn't find breathwork found me.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't have any outlets or know of any modalities or ways to just release the things that I was holding on to. And it got to a point where I was just holding on to so much just from what I was going through with like my family growing up, and just like, just society, and just feeling like I was just kind of taking on all of this stuff as far as what I was supposed to be doing in my career and expectations and all that. There was so much pressure as just like I'm sure a lot of your audience just like high achievers, go-getters, and just doing what I thought I should be doing in terms of success. And it just got to a point where I started experiencing debilitating anxiety attacks, and things built up so much to a point where I ended up starting to have grand mal seizures. And so I got diagnosed with epilepsy back in 2009, 2010. And it was really a wake-up call to like really look at my lifestyle, right? And look at the things that I was doing, because a lot of it was due to high stress and sleep deprivation. Those were the answers that the doctors had. But then also the answer was, well, here's this pill, just take this 2 times a day and just set me on my way. And it wasn't until breathwork found me that I was able to, over time, be able to heal, because it allowed me to have a way to release the stress and to be able to actually regulate my nervous system. So over time, I fast forward now, partly because of breathwork, and then also because of some other tools, I've been able to be off of medication completely.
Wow.
And I haven't had a grand mal seizure in over 6 years.
What a
And
blessing.
yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful, and my life looks completely different. And I now have more energy than I've ever had before, even, in comparison to my 20s. Like I had so much brain fog. There was so much I was wrapped up in that. And I feel more vibrant, more healthy than I've ever been. And so I'm so grateful to now share this practice with others wherever they're at in their own health journey.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I know you led us through breath work at the conference, you guys both, and that was such an invigorating experience for me. I've done a little bit of breath work, but not a lot. And you guys have really helped me, along with Sachin Patel, who also does breath work. The two of you guys, or the three of you guys, have really helped me to see the power in breath work. And I know, Dr. Corey, you actually left a very successful practice as being a naturopathic physician. You were a bit of a skeptic, but you became convinced and left your full-time practice for this. So tell us, what did you see in the science? What did you see in patients' experiences? What were you seeing that caused you to go, I've got to go and devote my time to this?
Well, it's funny enough, in the beginning, I didn't see enough of the science. And I took a lot of the trainings and what was going on in our community and got myself immersed and asked really tough questions to the people that were guiding and leading. And I didn't get really any answers. And so I really realized, I was like, oh, this is actually to some extent like the Wild West still. Like there isn't a lot of solid peer-reviewed research on, specific techniques, particularly like long form journeys. And I think for your audience to best understand, a lot of people are using the word breathwork right now, but it could mean a lot of different things. It could mean just a quick pranayama practice to calm down your nervous system and feel a little bit more peace. It could be to ramp up your physiology or your VO2 max and increase your performance. If you're an athlete or you want to increase your cardiovascular fitness. And then there's also what we like to term like long form conscious connected journeys, which are really about inner transformation, releasing and liberating emotions that are stuck within the body so that you can come back home to yourself. And so breathwork can be many things to many people. But for me, especially with these long form journeys, I realized that there was a lack of understanding and a lack of science. And that was my big aha and epiphany. Is I had a background, obviously, as a naturopathic physician. I had, like you said, a thriving practice in multiple states in Arizona and also La Jolla, California. And I was also really immersed at the same time in plant medicine and the physiology, the biochemistry behind that. And I saw a lot of commonalities between people's psychedelic journeys and then also these long form transformational breathwork journeys. So I was like, what's going on here within the body that's similar? And that's what really started my journey into this work and trying to extract principles and research that made sense to the common person. Because I think what's happening right now on a big scale is psychedelics as well as breath work is becoming a lot more front facing within society and a lot more accepted. And so for me and Jessica, one of our big goals is to be like, okay, how can we share this in a way that the masses will understand and try to embed as much science and research within it so that they will come to us as that trusted source. And so that's really what we take a stand for, is bringing more understanding to breathwork, which is the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you're saying that, breath work could mean a lot of things. I'd really love if you guys could kind of give us some vocabulary around breath work. Like, what does it mean in different situations? And specifically, what does it mean to you guys when you guys are helping people?
Great question. I mean, really, in the most simple terms, breath work as like an umbrella term, it comes down to two main components. One is just becoming aware of your breath. That's really first and foremost, one of the most important things is being conscious and noticing your breathing, because for the most part, we're not doing that day to day, right? But yet we breathe 20 to 25,000 breaths every single day.
Isn't that crazy?
Right. So how many of those 25,000 are you even aware of?
I mean, 25,000 times a day. That's a lot of times. We don't eat 25,000 times a day. We don't drink water 25,000 times a day.
Right.
Oh.
Right. So there's so much that's available to us here if we pay attention to those breaths. And what's amazing about breathing is that it's involuntary, but it's also voluntary.
Yeah.
And so if we become aware and start to become more of an active participant with our breath, there's a lot that can change. And research shows this. So there's the awareness component, and you might start to notice even as you're listening to this interview, you're like, okay, now I'm paying attention to how I'm breathing. Oh, wow, I'm holding my breath. Oh, wow, I'm breathing really fast, right? So that awareness, what happens naturally is we start to slow down the breath. We start to deepen the breath, right? Start to smooth out the breath. And then the second part about breath work is that there's also a change or a controlling of the pattern of our breathing. So that's what gets into what Corey was sharing. So there's many different forms. And with those different types of techniques, it involves different patterns and ways of breathing. So it might be through the nose or through the mouth. There might be 2 inhales, 1 exhale, 1 inhale to 1 exhale, fast, slow, whatever it might be, right? And that's where the umbrella, there's so much that's underneath that. So it gets to what Corey was saying. There's pranayama practices, which are just ancient yogic practices, probably something that you've experienced in a yoga class, let's say.
Mhm.
These are great practices. I think the way I see it is it's great for like maintenance, great for like everyday short practices you can do really at any time. And then there's practices like many people are familiar with the Wim Hof method. So that's really great for performance. A lot of athletes are very familiar with Wim Hof. And then there's conscious connected breathing, which is what reset breathwork falls underneath. And so when it, getting to your question, like, what does it really mean to us when we guide people through breathwork is we see it as not just a technique, but a journey.
Mm-hmm.
So reset breathwork usually takes about 30 to 35 minutes. And you are going through a journey to release the things that you've been holding on to through the body. And you think about how much we hold on to in our subconscious. Our subconscious stores every emotion, every thought, every experience, every event that's ever happened in our lives. It doesn't just like disappear. As much as we want to try to avoid these things or suppress them, they're stored in the subconscious. And there's very few ways to access the subconscious so that we can let those things go. And what we've seen with the clients, with the patients that we worked with, is that they're able to let go of things like, sexual abuse from their childhood. They're able to let go of traumatic events that they've gone through, even with physical pain. We've had people that have crippling chronic pain, fibromyalgia, or past injuries, where when they do breath work, they come out and they're like, I'm not in pain anymore.
Yeah.
We had an incredible high-level gymnast that we are working with, and she was in her almost 30s,
31, yeah.
And she had, the joints of probably a 70-year-old, right? She's like, I am constantly in pain. And she came out first time doing breath work, and she's like, her jaw was hitting the floor. She was like, she could barely talk because she was like, I can't even believe this. Like, I have gone to every specialist and I've done everything, and I'm completely out of pain. And she's like, you could just see that she was rediscovering a new identity, a way of being, because she was so identified with that pain, right? It was just a part of her life. And she's like, it's almost like, who am I now without this pain? And it was just so beautiful and exciting to see her create this new possibility for herself. And we could go on and on with so many different stories, but this is just what's possible especially with conscious connected breathing.
Yeah, I can see how it can be so transformative. I was actually fortunate enough to be led in like a breathwork exercise live with Wim Hof once at an Anthony Robbins event. And but it is short. It's kind of, or at least the one that I did was short. I had no idea how powerful it would be to do a longer event, which I did with you guys on Thursday night. And I was sharing with you guys before we went on the air that I did that with my daughter. And she's almost 12. And she loved the event, and it was it really affected her deeply. She actually got a little bit tearful after, and I said, "Are you crying?" And she's like, "Yes, I don't know why." It was so cute. And then she just got so lovey-dovey with me. She's always very loving to me. She tells me she loves me 100 times a day and hugs me. She's a sweet, sweet, loving girl. But she was like, "I don't know why, Mommy. I love you so much. I feel like it's the first time I'm telling you this." It was so cute. Like, her emotions, like she just got some emotions released in her in some way that I could tell it was very healing for her body to have that experience, And I had a great experience as well. I wasn't quite as emotional, but I felt lighter, and like a lot of stress was really relieved from me. I have a lot of stress with, I take care of my elderly mom and my daughter, whatever. And so like sometimes I just, you get into that chest breathing and you just feel like you don't even realize you're holding your breath or whatever. And just letting that go during that session that we had was just so powerful. And I thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about, you shared about the sympathetic and then how you have, I think you called it the snapback or something like that, that gets you into that parasympathetic. Can you share a little bit about that with everyone?
Yeah, I think the issue at hand for most people is that they don't know what they don't know with their nervous system, meaning like however you walk, breathe, and exist in this time plane is just like your standard, right? It's just like your baseline, your normal. And unfortunately, our bodies, our 2.5 million year old human Homo sapien bodies, are set up to deal with stress in a different context. And what I mean by that is we've all heard the old adage of like, maybe the sympathetic nervous system has to do with our fight or flight. Fight or flight is like running away from a bear, being in a near-death situation, like the stakes are really high, right? And then parasympathetic is the rest and digest. And so those are the two parts of the nervous system that need to be activated and regulated in what's called homeostasis, meaning just balance. There needs to be a balance between the two. And what we find is happening, especially with some new research that's coming out with Stanford and Harvard, is they're really looking at ancient stress and how that impacts the nervous system versus modern day stress. And I'll give you the quick and dirty, Dr. Krystal. The quick and dirty is that yes, stress is still high in populations around the world, but because stress isn't like our daily stressors aren't necessarily going to kill you. There isn't going to be like a high risk, high reward with that stress. We're not running away from a bear, and we don't have to worry necessarily every single day, every single moment where our food is coming from or where our shelter is. The problem is that you get micro stressors. So the way I describe it, it's like getting in the car, you're 5 minutes late because you had a fight with your partner. Now you're driving fast. You have to cut somebody off. They give you the finger. Then you get to work a little bit late, and then you get that look from your boss, but they don't say anything. And then you forget to grab lunch. Now you're going 8 hours without lunch. Now you're hypoglycemic. And it's like, it just kind of like snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And so our autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, are set up is to know the difference through your five senses. So I always make the funny joke of like, hey, I've been with Jessica for 7 years. We're around each other 24/7. And so when I break wind, guess who notices first? Not me, her. And so all of our five senses are set up to notice that difference, to protect us, to help us avoid risky situations, and to notice things. And unfortunately, all these real subtle things that I talked about, our nervous system doesn't necessarily pick them up, but they're still stored within our nervous system. So imagine instead of having these big stressors followed by these big time relaxation periods of like, whoo, we just avoided getting eaten by a bear. It just adds and adds and adds and adds. So our nervous system, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't know the difference. And so we may say like, I feel fine, but I know there's something wrong. I'm super anxious, but I don't have anything to point to in my external world. And so I'm up here, I'm really high up here in sympathetic mode, and I don't know how to get out of it. That's why reset breathwork is so potent, is because instead of just using gentle pranayama, parasympathetic breathing activities, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, let's trust the innate intelligence of our 2.5 million year old body. And let's go back to and essentially re-simulate ancient stress by ramping up your sympathetic nervous system even higher than it is right now. And people say, oh my God, is that risky? Is there danger? Of course. And that's why you go with a certified facilitator that can do it in a safe setting and do it in a progressive way to really mitigate harm, but like to trust, like our nervous system is set up for this. So let's create that in a safe setting, ramp our nervous system up. And when you ramp it up enough, stronger than your past stressors, what will happen is a snapback effect. And essentially what we're saying is you stop breathing after the practice, your body is going to go, oh, wow, we are so sympathetic right now. And the body will drive itself into a deep relaxation, a deep parasympathetic activity. And so, kind of coming back to what you had shared about your daughter, like her feeling lighter, her feeling like she released some emotions, her saying, this feels like the first time I'm ever saying I love you, right?
Yeah.
Such a profound statement. And I would say, based upon the tens of thousands of people that we facilitated, what I'm hearing from her and what I'm hearing from her nervous system is there was just some stuff. And who knows if like she remembers it or not remembers it, but we're sponges, right? And so she released some stuff and she was coming back home to her experience of her mother and the love that she has for her. And there isn't a more healing thing than that. And so, yeah, when we say snapback effect, we're saying trust your nervous system, ramp it up so that you can get into a deep parasympathetic baseline that you can achieve with other breathwork techniques that I found.
You know what this makes me think of, Dr. Corey, is like Graston therapy or something like that, where it's like you have acute inflammation, which is designed to heal us, right? It's bringing blood flow, it's helping us in some way, or even, platelet-rich plasma therapy or different things like that, where you're creating trauma, right, to elicit the inflammatory response in an acute fashion, because the acute inflammation is healing for us. But then the chronic inflammation of I remember this lady at a high school I went to, like she had to shut this heavy door over and over again throughout like 30 years.
Wow.
And eventually her shoulder like started to go. But it wasn't like shutting the door once wasn't going to cause any kind of injury or any kind of problem. But that low level chronic, just this like, did I turn off the, curling iron? Did I do this? Or what? I need to make sure I don't forget that. And I just, someone just cut me off. And just that ongoing, like nagging chronic sensation of stress is so toxic for our body in a way that creating the stress that you're talking about of like ramping it up on purpose can be very restorative. That's what I'm like connecting it to.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, what we're doing is we're actually activating the parasympathetic even stronger through activation of your sympathetic nervous system. And that's where a lot of the research is going. And like you said, that workshop that you and your daughter attended, that's, some of this research is just starting to come out, which is really exciting because that's what me and Jessica have always thought for years now. And it's starting to really have a basis within scientific literature. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's getting more and more popular in the anti-aging and longevity arena. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think some of the big things are most people now. Okay, so we talked about long form journeys. I want to get really specific here. So we talked about long form journeys. Our pattern is to ramp up your nervous system, right? And so, of course, there's many other types of techniques. And me and Jessica always say this, which is, hey, if you're going to do a long form transformational journey to do some healing on the inside, yeah, ramp up your nervous system, do some mouth breathing. But 99.5% of the rest of your day, the rest of your life, nasal breathing is king. So some of the big things that are coming out with breathwork research is most people are chronic mouth breathers at night. And one of the biggest things that you can do as far as, longevity, healing, getting more youthful is getting into deeper states of sleep, particularly REM sleep, deeper states within your brain waves and whatnot. And so when you breathe in and out of your mouth at night while you're sleeping, that interrupts that process. And of course, I'm sure we're hearing, wives talking about husbands snoring, or if you have sleep apnea, or you notice it's difficult to get to sleep or stay asleep, there's probably some mouth breathing that's a part of that equation. And so we are big proponents of taping our mouth shut. We actually have a Instagram video, so people can follow us on the Healing Couple _ on Instagram to look for that. But there's many different ways of going about it. I'm just a big fan of getting a non-toxic, safe medical tape, just taping just a little portion, like a third portion in front of your mouth, and then really sticking to that for 6 weeks. And most people, especially our clients, notice a significant change in not only their energy, but just their overall vibrancy and vitality because they are getting to deeper states of REM sleep. And I'm a big proponent too of the Whoop strap. So if they're listening, I have a Whoop strap, and it's able to track a metric called HRV, which is your heart rate variability. But what most people don't know is heart rate variability is determined by your breathing pattern. And so if you're breathing erratically in and out of your mouth at night, while you're mouth breathing while you sleep, that's going to cause a poor HRV, thus poor recovery within your body, thus aging you faster. So that's something that I would definitely, it's a quick thing that anybody can do and start up, and has a major impact on your health.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I started doing mouth taping, I don't know, 7 or 8 months ago. And my daughter saw me doing it, of course. And so she wanted to do it. And I'm like, okay, go ahead. And we were having a hard time figuring out also why she was having these chronic sore throats, because she wasn't sick. And I had not noticed that she was mouth breathing. I feel like I should have noticed that, but I had not noticed that. And she became so obsessed with wanting to make sure she tapes her mouth shut every night because it helped her so much.
Yeah.
And I didn't know she had run out of the medical tape. She started using painter's tape and had like
Oh, no.
her poor little face was raw. I was like, what's happening to you? And so she ended up, we got her some more medical tape, but she's so diligent about that because it has helped her so much. This is without me I never even mentioned to her that she should do it, but it helped her so much that she does it without fail every night. It helps her throat. She says she feels better when she does it. It's amazing. I actually think I keep my mouth shut when I sleep because I haven't noticed a change, but I don't think I open my mouth much. But yeah, she's had a huge transformation from just doing that simple technique that you mentioned.
Oh yeah, I know. We walk around and we see, babies sleeping at the mall or whatever, and I just want to go up to them and push their mouth shut.
Yeah, because when they're infants, they're obligate nasal breathers, So yeah, that's interesting when whenever they transition over, for some kids, not all kids, and it can affect the facial shape, right? If they grow up that way.
Absolutely, it can crowd the teeth, cause issues down the road, impact overall like VO2 max and their ability to breathe. It can cause septum issues within their sinus cavity. I mean, there's a whole onslaught. I mean, personally for me, when I started not only just doing long form breathwork journeys, but also a lot of these nasal techniques and doing, for instance, like strict nasal breathing while I work out, that became my number one determinant of cardiovascular output and like how intense I was exercising. Is the second that I had to start mouth breathing, I stopped and turned to working out. So yeah, it's a quick, easy, and fast rule for exercising is if you have to start mouth breathing, slow down or mitigate the exercise until you can return back to nasal breathing and do strict nasal breathing throughout. And over the years, what I noticed, and this is something that we have on our Instagram and I've shared a couple times in workshops, is my facial structure actually changed. Mm-hmm. So I got essentially more width within my cheekbones and my jawbone. And it actually it elongated my face because my face was actually fairly round about 10 years ago. And so it actually smoothed out my face and provided more room, not only with just in my mouth and my jaw, but also just within my face in general. And that was something that was profound.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of before and afters of people who transition from mouth breathing to nasal breathing. Sachin Patel shows his before and afters from time to time, and it's pretty profound, the difference that it can make. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you have time to do a little bit of breathing with us?
Yeah, we can definitely do a short practice that people can do really anywhere. And I know we'll share a little bit more about ways that people, if you're like, hey, I want to take the deep dive, I want to do the conscious connectivity, I want to do reset breathwork, but we can definitely do something right now that I think will be really helpful for anyone that's listening. Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so what do we do?
Yeah, we'll take it away. We'll do some box breathing because that's one that you can do even if you're listening to this as you are driving. It doesn't require you to add any movement or close down the eyes. So you can do this with eyes closed or open. if you are in a position right now that you can close the eyes, that's ideal. So whenever you're ready, just sit up nice and tall, close the eyes if you can. And like I was sharing earlier, just the awareness of our breath is really powerful. So just start by becoming aware of how you're breathing right now. You just simply notice each inhale and each exhale. Notice the breath as it moves in through your nostrils, filling your lungs, feeling the expansion of your lungs as you breathe in. And notice each exhale, letting go, releasing, emptying out. On your next breath in, just breathe in a little bit bigger, in through the nose. And just let it out. Notice what muscles you're using to breathe. Notice the rhythm and the pattern of your breath, the pace, whether it be fast or slow. If your breath is deep or shallow. And if you notice that your mind gets distracted or it starts to wander, that's okay, that's normal. Just bring it back to your next inhale. Just pay attention to your breathing, maybe even listen to your own breath. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And this time, audible sigh, just let it out. And as you exhale, bring your shoulders away from the ears, just softening them. Soften your jaw, soften the muscles in your face, especially right between the eyebrows and the forehead. Just relax your body. And through this breathing pattern that I'm going to guide you through, I want you to imagine a square or a box. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold for 4. So imagine like we're breathing in a square. So together through the nose, take a deep breath in, breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold at the bottom. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Now I invite you to continue on your own. You can stay with this count of 4. If you want an extra challenge, if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can increase the count to 5, perhaps even 6 or 7, if that's available to you. Just continue to breathe in this square. And if you lose count, it's all good. Just come back to the next inhale. Focusing on your breath. Wherever you are, continue for 2 more full rounds. Imagine each inhale, just breathing in what you would like to welcome in more of, whether that's more peace, more self-love, more confidence. And on the exhales, letting go of anything that's not serving you or no longer true for you, whether that's self-doubt or old stories or fear. If you're already complete with that second round, you can just return back to normal breath. And let's all close out with a collective breath, biggest breath of the day. But first, empty out all of your air. Really let it go this time. And then deep breath in through the nose, biggest breath of the entire day. Breathe all the way to the top, hold it at the top. Take one more sip of air. And then big sigh, let it go, 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 let it go. Squeeze all the air out, fully emptying out. And with a gentle smile on the face, you can open your eyes and just notice how you feel.
That was amazing.
So
So I
glad.
want to continue with a few more questions before I let you guys go.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about what you were saying with the whole, when you're breathing through your mouth while you're exercising, that's when you know it's maybe too much. Are there times when you want to like push yourself to that? Like when I think of like HIIT exercise, you know, I think about like you really want to push to your capacity and then go back.
Yeah.
So would that be kind of similar to what you were talking about with the reset?
Yeah, well, kind of. It's a little different because when you're looking to increase your performance, your physical performance, there's a lot of research now showing that, you know, remember, I mean, at least I remember when I was in college or playing sports, they always had the heart rate monitors, right? And so they wanted to keep you within the zones. And I think the zones are absolutely important. But what they're realizing on the breathwork side of the research with exercise is that it doesn't really matter how hard your heart is beating, aka like how intense the exercise is. You should be able to oxygenate your tissues with strict nasal breathing, no matter how hard your intensity is.
Oh,
So what I'm saying is the second that you break the nasal breathing, the strict nasal breathing, you start breathing in and out of your mouth, you are actually decreasing the oxygenation to your tissues because mouth breathing is not nearly as efficient. So it's
that's
just,
good to know.
yeah, it's just a psychological mechanism. So for instance, I'm a big fan of like boxing, the UFC. And so I always am watching how the fighters are breathing. And
Yeah.
it's such a predictor. But the second that one of them starts mouth breathing, I'm like, oh, they're gassed. Like that person's going down. And almost always that's a determinant.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really hard. I will admit it's not like something where like you mouth tape your mouth for 6 weeks and then you're good. You're gonna really have to work with it. For me, it took about a year until I really realized, oh, this is just a psychological, societal mechanism that I have seen other people do for years and years. Is like that, hey, we're going to do that HIIT workout. We're going to go as hard as we can. We're going to be mouth breathing. And it's really, honestly, when you look at the physiology, it's a lie. And you are actually decreasing your performance over time by doing that. And so they found if you can really be strict with nasal breathing, no matter the intensity level, you're actually going to increase your cardiovascular fitness as a result of that.
That's good to know. Yeah. I try to breathe through my nose pretty much all the time, even when exercising. But I often wondered if I should be pushing myself to that next level. This is now I feel like that's, you know, that's good information for me. How does it help you with things like digestion, cleaning out your blood, all that sort of thing? It helps with
Yeah.
weight loss, reduces inflammation, right?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of different scientific mechanisms, but I think the big one that I would want to talk about is this I guess statement that's thrown around a lot in the breathwork world, which is that like 70% of your detox pathways occur through breathing. And it's true. It's true, but there's a little caveat behind that, which is we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out CO2. But where is that CO2 actually coming from? It actually comes from our cellular respiration. So without giving you a whole medical explanation, like each one of our cells takes in oxygen so that we can make energy in the form of ATP. And the byproduct of that is actually a form of carbon dioxide that then we breathe out. So if you can breathe efficiently, you actually are going to increase your metabolism and be offloading more CO2, which means that you are now detoxifying your body more efficiently. And so that word detox is a little sticky for me sometimes because I'm like, well, it's just cellular respiration.
Yeah.
But I think people focus on that. So people go, oh, well, this is really important. I want to be able to detoxify my body, which is true, but it really has to do about the efficiency of your breathing. So yeah, rule of thumb, the more nasal breathing that you can do, the higher you're going to be along that metabolic spectrum of being able to detox at a cellular level, and you're just going to have cleaner cells. The other thing that I really want to point out, especially with long form breathwork journeys, like if you come and breathe with me and Jessica, which we'd love, is you may feel worse before you feel better. And I'm sure a lot of doctors in the alternative health world have talked about that, some pushback against it, right? And why I say that is because most people are breathing up in their chest. With our reset breathwork method that we've developed, it involves a belly breath, activating the diaphragm, deep diaphragmatic breathing, and also the chest. So you're filling your entire lung field, which most people never do for decades on end. And so you're going to breathe more than maybe you've ever breathed before with us. And with diaphragmatic breathing in particular, strong diaphragmatic breathing, and you may do it 400, 500, 600 times with us during a session, you're going to be moving a lot of what's called lymphatic fluid in the body. And so about, the rough estimate is like 75, some people say 90% of our lymphatic fluid is moved via when your diaphragm contracts. And so if you're not getting your diaphragm to contract consistently throughout your day, week, month, year, you're really setting yourself up to get very plugged up, very toxic, because our lymphatic vessels are essentially the garbage dump of the body. Yeah. And so sometimes what can happen when people come out of a session, they're like, hey, I feel lighter, I release those emotions. And then they'll hit us up a couple of days later and they're like, I kind of feel like I'm toxic. I feel a little sick. And we always tell them, we give them a lot of recommendations around that. But at the end of the day, that's a good thing because that now you're moving lymphatic fluid so that it doesn't get stuck inside your cells. And so especially focusing on long form, we always even recommend for a lot of our clients to do 100 deep belly breaths per day, just so that you can move that lymphatic fluid so it doesn't get stuck within your body and your system.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah, I have to admit, I found it exhausting. It was like a workout.
Yes.
So, and your diaphragm is a muscle. And if you're not using that muscle very often, you are wearing that muscle out in that breath workout, and I felt fantastic after doing it, but you definitely part of the way through, or at least I did. I felt like, man, how long are we going to be going with this? I'm like, okay, just keep going. But then because when you push through, you're like, oh my gosh, that was so good to get to that next level, that next step. Mm-hmm. So you talk about there being a sixth sense, and I loved when you were asking us the audience what the sixth sense was, I had said proprioception. But you taught me about a different one, so I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah. So most people talk about within, health and wellness, spiritual circles, like your intuition, like your inner knowing. And there's a scientific side to that, which is we have these five senses, which is sight, smell, hearing, taste, touch. And there's a sixth one, which is called interoception. Interoception, not proprioception, but interoception. And what interoception is it's the sensations or the acuity, the sensitivity that you have to sensations inside your body. So for instance, a quick and dirty way of doing that is like right now, just sitting eyes open or closed. If you're driving, please don't close your eyes. But just take a moment and feel for your heartbeat. Can you feel your heartbeat? Now, can you feel it? Oh, you can? Okay. Can you feel your pulse in your left arm?
I do.
Okay. Can you feel your pulse in your right index finger? Yeah.
No,
So
I do not.
exactly. So, and there's no right or wrong here, but what I'm trying to show you is that there's levels to people's essentially sensitivity to interoception.
Yeah.
And what the research is showing, especially that there's a big research article that I shared with in the workshop that you were talking about in January that came out that was talking about the relationship between the sensations that you can feel inside your body and your actual overall emotional wellness and well-being, essentially your health. And so the more attuned you are to being able to pick up sensations within the body, and that's why I said, hey, feel your heartbeat. Okay, that was pretty easy. What about your left arm? Well, yeah, I can feel that, but it's a little harder.
Yeah.
Okay, right fingertip. That I can't feel that, but some people can, right?
Yeah.
And so what the research is showing is when you spend time experiencing interoception through body-based experiences like long-form breathwork journeys, you are increasing the sensitivity that you have to sensations that you feel inside your body, and that has a strong correlation to emotional healing and emotional wellness, which is super important to us. And so, yeah, that was essentially the research that I was sharing. And the way to do it is long-form breath journeys, because during these long-form breath journeys, like you said, it was a workout, it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how much longer can I go here? But also what we talk about a lot is the expectation of a lot of internal sensations that you can feel. So you can feel sometimes tingling, sometimes a little numbness, sometimes cramping. Common to feel vibrations throughout the entire body. Like, you shared so beautifully with your daughter, emotions are a big component of these breathwork journeys. And sometimes they're, tears of joy, sometimes they're tears of sorrow, but tears nonetheless. And you can also feel internal sensations of feeling really hot and really cold. And a bunch of things in between. But what I'm really getting at is this practice evokes a lot of sensations inside the body and gives you a huge opportunity to work on that sixth sense, that interoception that has huge implications in your health and wellness long term. So that's what we talked about.
I love that. That's actually a new word to me. I wasn't familiar with that. So I'm excited to learn about that. How did you two get started on becoming the healing couple?
Oh boy.
I love this question. It's very similar to how I was saying, like, I didn't find breathwork found me. We didn't set out to be the healing couple and set out to create this healing business that has now become a global.
Did you guys already know each other at the time that you discovered breathwork to begin with, or
No, I've been doing breathwork for 5-6 years up to that point before I met her.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we both had been doing different breathwork practices. My journey started with Sudarshan Kriya through the Art of Living Foundation. And Corey was at
pranayama, yoga, then Wim Hof. Yeah, I was doing Wim Hof for a few years before I met her.
But when we came together, I was practicing a lot more conscious, connected breathing. And that's where I went a lot deeper into my experience, actually through yoga teacher training. And so when we had met, we were doing long distance. Corey was in Phoenix, I was in San Diego. And so we were doing a lot of long distance, we were doing phone calls and whatnot to be able to connect and get to know each other. And I was sharing with him about my conscious connected breathing experiences and the visions that I would see. And I would just feel, so powerful and on top of the world. And
love it.
there was a journey where I imagined myself transforming into an eagle and I was flying high in the sky. And I felt like I could see, everything. I could see the whole world. I could see my vision. I could see my life playing out. And it was just so extraordinary. It was a very out of body experience. And I was sharing with him and he was like, whoa, like, you sure that was just breathing? Like, I've done breathwork before, but that's like a whole nother level.
Did they slip you something? Yeah. Did you drink syrup? Was there some psychedelics missing somewhere?
The position in you, right? Like,
yeah.
wait a minute.
Right. And I was like, no, I swear. And so that actually, brought us even closer together because like, okay, like his medical mind was like, this sounds like the ayahuasca experiences that I was having. Right. And so, it piqued your curiosity. And so we went a lot deeper with conscious connected breathing and then brought together a lot of different aspects of other breathwork modalities to bring together and to create reset
Right.
breathwork. And what was really beautiful is not only as we were going on our own journey, but this is very early on in our relationship, right? And it allowed me on a personal level to deepen my trust with Corey, really open our hearts to one another and really deepen our connection. And so many people were like, how long have you guys been together? And at that time, we had been together for like maybe 4 or 5 months. And people were like, just with our energy, they're like, it looks like seems like you guys have been together for like 5, 6 years at this point. And so there's so much that breath work can open up on a mental, emotional, physical level. And it allowed us to really like, with our relationship, but then also to then serve other people and grow our business really quickly over the last couple of years and serve at this point, tens of thousands of people.
That's incredible. So I know you guys are giving away a free gift. I'd like for you to share about that. Limited time.
Yes, we would love to share about it. So if you're listening to this conversation and you're like, okay, I'm ready for the deep dive. I want to experience conscious connected breathing. I want to experience reset breath work and I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to transform. I'm ready to let the things go that I've been holding on to. And we invite you to our next monthly online breathwork workshop. So once a month, we host a workshop that's completely virtual. So we have people that join us from all over the world and we guide you through this experience. Now, some people will say, well, it's online on Zoom. Is it that powerful? And yes, we really create a very interactive, safe experience for people to go very deep. And some people go even deeper online than in person because you're doing it in the comfort of your own home. So you're really in your own space and we guide you through that entire process. And so every single month is different. We have a different theme, a different intention. For example, February is all about love and romance. In March, which we invite you guys to, is all about new beginnings. It's right around the spring equinox. And so it's really about that just awakening, just kind of like imagine like you're doing some spring cleaning. You're cleaning out the mental, emotional closet. So it's going to be a really great opportunity to look within, clear some stuff out, clear out some gunk, some junk in the closet and come out a lot lighter. So we'd love for you guys to experience that. It's on March 19th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. PST. If you're like, man, I really want to join, but I can't make it live, all good. Registration always includes the replay, so you can come back to it, watch on your own time, and do it multiple times if you want to too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I highly recommend it. I had an amazing experience with it. And even young people, like my daughter, like I said, she's 11 right now, almost 12. And she really had a great experience with it as well. So where can people find you guys so they can follow you?
Yeah, all things The Healing Couple. So got a website, www.thehealingcouple.com, Instagram, The Healing Couple _, which is going to change soon. We have a trademark. It's just kind of come through. Somebody took it, but we'll get that back. But it's _. And then, all the other channels, just The Healing Couple.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Dr. Krystal.